What is up, enthusiasts? It is Cedar here, and welcome back to another one of my videos. So, if you are an avid coaster enthusiast in the coaster industry, you will probably recognize the name Vekoma. This is a pretty popular roller coaster manufacturer that, saying the least, has had a pretty bumpy road, but recently has come back stronger than ever. For a little bit of a backstory, we go all the way back to the 1920s when Vekoma was made in Europe. It was originally not for the roller coaster industry, but in the late 1970s, they decided to eventually dip their feet into roller coasters. And they started off with a few bangs. These included some thrilling looping coasters at parks like Alton Towers in the UK, Movie Park in Germany, and Efteling in the Netherlands. Eventually, in the early 1980s, they would reach Canada, the United States, and other North American countries, and then Asia, Australia, and eventually all over the world. They would not stand out completely though until the early 1980s when they came out with a brand new top-tier structure. This was the Vekoma Boomerang. This model debuted at many parks all across the world and expanded in the years coming up. To say the least, the 80s and the 90s were peak Vekoma at the time. They were working with Disney, they were coming out with more clones, and they were making boomerangs all across the world. In the 90s, they came out with the Vekoma SLC, or suspended looping coaster. This would be one of Vekoma's biggest models of all time, having dozens of models all across the world and even all across the United States as well. If you are a coaster enthusiast and you travel, I guarantee you've definitely been on a few of these. By the early 2000s, Vekoma was everywhere. There were Vekomas at parks all across the world. Chains like Six Flags, Paramount, and Cedar Fair were mass producing them. But during the 2000s, there was a major decline in sales. What happened is that the older models quickly aged, like the Vekoma Boomerangs and the Vekoma SLCs, and quickly became dated. And they were barely coming out with any new models to innovate their company further. Vekoma seemed like they were a little outdated. That was until the early 2010s. New models would appear with updated track, modern profiling, and pretty good forces. Enthusiasts in Europe and Asia would get a taste of this pretty early on, and for the latter half of the 2010s, there were some great Vekoma creations coming out all across the Eastern Hemisphere. But it is better now than never, because there is a brand new trend going on in the United States, and that is that they are adapting these modern Vekomas found in Europe and adding them to their coaster collections here across the pond. Point is that Vekoma is coming up strong, and is stronger than it has been in 20 years. So, let's get into some of the roller coasters in the United States that we could be seeing by Vekoma in the next few years. This is Cedar Flags, and today, we are going to be talking about Vekoma's American comeback of the 2020s. So we do have a few coasters to look at. The first roller coaster is Rookie Racer. This is going to be added to Six Flags St. Louis later this year, and is currently in its testing phase. If you don't know, this is a 247 meter junior coaster. It was a much smaller example than some of the other coasters I mentioned earlier, but we are going to be starting out small. Now, a big deal with this roller coaster is that it is a Six Flags ride. Now, this is a big deal for two reasons. One, Six Flags is a major company, and they are a big inspiration for other amusement parks. And reason number two, Six Flags hasn't added an original Vekoma in years. This is not the only Vekoma that Six Flags is adding, but we are going to be getting to that in a little bit. The next coaster we are going to be talking about is Midnight Flyer, located at Santa's Village in northern New Hampshire. This is located by Mount Washington, and this is a very charming park, very small, and very family oriented. It has a Christmas theme all year round, and to say the least, it is a beautiful place. Midnight Flyer is going to be another Vekoma Junior coaster similar to the one at Six Flags St. Louis, and is going to be replacing their Tivoli, Rudy's Rapid Transit. Now, as someone who liked that ride, I cannot wait to see what replacement it's going to have and what layout it's going to bring. Going from a smaller park to another massive chain, we are going to be looking at Snoopy's Soapbox Racers at Kings Island. This is going to be located in their newly revamped Camp Snoopy area, and is going to be one of their junior boomerangs. These rides have been popping up all over Europe in the past few years, and to say the least, I am so excited to see one of these pop up in the States. This has a very interesting and custom layout, and it is going to be over 70 feet tall. Now, I don't know about you, but that is a pretty tall height for a kiddie coaster. Granted, this is a boomerang, it's going to be a shuttle coaster, so it's going to have an interesting experience for all ages, and it looks like it's going to have some good theming as well. And like I said, yes, we are talking about Cedar Fair. This means both Six Flags and Cedar Fair are working with Vekoma in the same year. Going to another Vekoma family boomerang, we look at Good Gravy at Holiday World in Santa Claus, Indiana. Now, unlike the Kings Island family boomerang, this one is going to have a completely different layout. Instead of a compact one, it is going to have a long drawn out and back layout. And at the same time, it is going to be surrounding a nice plaza area in the Thanksgiving section, and overall, I think it is a very nice looking ride. Now, we are getting to the bigger rides. We are looking at Big Bear Mountain at Dollywood. Now, this is a Vekoma family launch coaster. Now, despite it having that name, it is a much bigger coaster than the last ones I was talking about. Now, you might have noticed, Dollywood is at a bigger chain. This is Hershend Family Entertainment, that owns many dinner venues all across the United States, but more importantly, owns a plethora of theme parks including Dollywood, Silver Dollar City, Kentucky Kingdom, and more. And to add on to that, this is their second Vekoma in only a few years for their new Wildwood Grove expansion. A few years ago, they added Dragonflyer, which is a Vekoma suspended family coaster. Now, they are 2 new Vekomas strong, so it only begs me to wonder, are they going to add more Vekomas at this amazing chain? Silver Dollar City, Kentucky Kingdom, we could see some amazing Vekomas at those parks. When it comes to Big Bear Mountain itself, the ride has an incredible terrain advantage, there are a few head chopper moments in tunnels, and the overall environment of this ride seems very fun. The entrance looks nice, the trains look nice, and the ride itself looks incredible. We are going from Tennessee down to Texas to talk about Circuit Breaker at the Circuit of the Americas' brand new Codaland. Now, the Circuit of the Americas is an independent racetrack, so this is not a part of an amusement park chain, but this is just a racetrack that decided to invest in some rides. So if you don't know, this is a Vekoma tilt coaster. Now, I have talked about this before in previous videos because, I mean, look at it. It is the first of its kind in the United States, and it looks to be a pretty elite ride. But it is also important to mention that this ride has gone through a little bit of delay. It has suffered a few delays from 2023 to 2024, and now we really don't know when this ride is going to open. So to say the least, we really don't know what the future of this ride is. But, fortunately for us, there is another major Vekoma coming to America next year. The final Vekoma we are going to be talking about is Flash Vertical Velocity at Six Flags Great Adventure in New Jersey. Now, the reason I saved this for last is for a few reasons. One, this is the main reason for this video. How does this ride go? Well, it starts off with a station swing launch, and after that it is going to go past through a backwards vertical spike behind the station. After that, it's going to pass through the station one more time to go through an Immelman with a 0G stall on the top. Up next, you'll go into a booster into a double up that leads into an interesting looking dive loop. After that, you go into a 0G roll with another vertical spike and another booster, and then you do the whole layout in reverse, just like their other Vekoma boomerangs. This ride is definitely going to show Vekoma's strengths in the United States and with Six Flags parks alike. To say the least, this is a very exciting time for Vekoma. They have not added this many coasters in the United States for well over 15 years, and they do not look like they're stopping anytime soon. And of course, the plethora of roller coasters that could be coming out in the future. Six Flags is pretty hard to predict because they're all over the place at this point. Now, is that a bad thing? No, absolutely not, but Six Flags is just very hard to predict. With Hershend, like I said, I could see this at Silver Dollar City and Kentucky Kingdom, most likely Kentucky Kingdom. I could definitely see something in the spot of T3 that would provide a thrilling layout. Cedar Fair, very similar to Six Flags, they are very hard to predict as well. Now, they love B&M, and B&M is their go-to, so when it comes to thrilling coasters, I really don't know if they're going to go with Vekoma as well. So let me know what you thought about this video in the comments below. Let me know what you think is going to happen to Vekoma in the United States in the future, and tell me what one of these rides you are the most excited for. Right now, I am the most excited for Flash. So until next time, check out links in my description to interact with me more, and like and subscribe. This is Cedar Flags, and I'll see you all later.